All right, so let's talk about Proverbs 5 this morning. This whole chapter is about the strange woman, the immoral woman, and you can look at it in different ways. The literal woman, strange woman, or you can look at it in a spiritual sense as like false religion, false teaching. But specifically, let's jump into verse 3. He talks about, he says, "For the lips of a strange woman drop as a honeycomb, and her mouth is smoother than oil, but her end is bitter as wormwood, sharp as a two-edged sword. Her feet go down to death, her steps take hold on hell. Lest thou shouldest ponder the path of life, her ways are movable, thou canst not know them." And he's saying, "Hear me now, therefore, O children, depart not from the words of my mouth." So, all right, let's talk quickly about that. So, she's strange, right? Strange, unfamiliar, foreign, different. It's just new, right? Something that's not the usual. So, but it does go on and tell us that her lips and that her mouth. So, speaking of her words, it said that they were sweet, but then they end in bitterness. It said that it was smooth, but then it's sharp as a two-edged sword. So while they look one way, the end result is the exact opposite. Then it goes on to talk about her paths being movable. And so you had a path you were going on, and now you've listened to this sweetness, this smoothness, and you're going in a different direction. And so what was God's instruction? He said, "Hear me now. Don't depart from what I have to say." He says all these things are going to happen if you don't listen to me, and if you don't get away, right? We're to flee youthful lust. We're to, flee fornication, all those things we're told to run from. It doesn't really ever say to fight those specific things. It says to run from them because they are powerful and strong. So what does he say is going to be a result of that? He said, "Lest thou give thine honor to others, years unto the cruel, strangers be filled with your wealth, labors in the house of a stranger." He says the things you were supposed to be honoring, the responsibilities that you did have those years, the wealth that you obtained, your works, your labors, it's going to go from what's right, from what I've told you to do, from the instruction that I've originally give you. It's going to go from that to what's wrong, to out of order, to what's not right. And the funny thing is this person's doing all the same things, and so they probably think they're doing right, but it's completely out of order. It's the opposite of what God would have them do, because it's basically forsaking what was honorable, what was right. Anyway, so that's a result of those things. And then ultimately it says that in the last you're going to be consumed. How have I hated instruction? I've despised reproof. I've not obeyed the teachers. Is regret, right? There's a law of sowing and reaping, and that's you don't get out of that. Sometimes God will show mercy in that, but just like you're going to plant a seed and you're going to get the fruit of that seed. What you planted is what you're going to get. So it's the same with planting good seeds and getting good fruit, planting bad seeds and getting bad fruit. Then he goes on to give instruction on what you should do. And, he says you have your own well, you have your own fountain, you have your own cistern, and this is the instruction. He says, do this, do this, do this. You have everything that you need. You were dissatisfied. Everything that you need, but you were deceived. Everything that you need, but he goes on to say, his own iniquity shall take the wicked himself, and he shall be holden with the cords of his sin. He said you had everything you need, but now you're going to be tied down by the cords of your iniquities. And then he ultimately says he shall die without instruction, in the greatness of his folly he shall go astray. If there's no turning back to what's right, it's death without instruction. Things have already died if you've taken this route. So what's how do you turn back? How do you start to make this thing right? Sow those right good seeds. We'll go right back to verses 1 and 2. "My son, attend unto my wisdom, bow thine ear to my understanding, that thou mayest regard discretion, and that thy lips may keep knowledge." If you're listening to the wisdom of God, ready to have understanding from him regarding discretion, right, and knowledge, he's going to give you that discernment to judge correctly, to judge between what's right and wrong. We can all be deceived, right? Because the enemy deceives us. Our hearts are deceiving. We have, inward and outward deception going on, so it's 100% possible, but we don't have to stay deceived if we'll just get back to what's true and what's right and stop following. Like, take it seriously. If it says it's dangerous, it's dangerous. If it says it's good, it's good. All right, be blessed.